everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about Halloween costumes, specifically about how to make easy but still cute historical Halloween costumes. So the first one that I'm going to be doing is Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, but specifically from the ballet. So I really love ballet and I love a lot of their costumes, and so I take a lot of inspiration from the different companies around the world. And I saw a picture of one of the Juliet costumes from, I think, the Bolshoi Ballet, and I thought it was so beautiful. And so I wanted to make an attempt to make that today, and let's get started. So this is the costume that I'm going to be copying today. I'll put a better picture up. And I think that is from Anastasia Thompson's Instagram. But I want to recreate the sort of two-tone effect. And so I have this blue something and this silver something. I think it's satin. I think they're both different kinds of satin. And so anyway, I'm just going to be making sort of a two-tone dress with it this way. And to make the top, the first thing I've done, I gave them both a cursory iron. There's a lot of fabric though, so I'm probably gonna have to iron it again. And I've just taken this top that I kind of like the neckline of. I'm just going to trace it onto the fabric. I'm not going to line it because I think I might wear like a corset or something underneath this, and I don't really want to have to deal with lining. Anyway, so I'm just going to lay it out like this, flat, and then trace it, cut it out. I don't really want to have to make a pattern for this, but I also don't really have a pattern, so I'm just going to kind of mess around with it, and yeah, that'll be the first step. So I just traced the top, and well, my idea is to make it in 4 parts. So it's gonna be blue, white, or is it blue, white, blue, white? Anyway, it's gonna be in 4 pieces, 2 front and 2 back. And I just took the front 2 pieces from the Christine bodice, which is a Bellamy's pattern, I believe, that I talked about in a previous video. I love her patterns and I've used them before. But anyway, because this looks pretty bad based on just this kind of tracing of a shirt. It's a good start, but I want to just kind of adapt it a little bit more to kind of, you know, look somewhat like something. So I'm just gonna start sketching this out. I'll show what the final sort of top piece that I settle on looks like. But Halloween has always been a pretty big deal for me, even before I learned how to sew. I taught myself in 2020 over quarantine because, you know, everybody was picking up new hobbies at that point, right? And I mean, Halloween has always been really special to me. I've always loved to dress up. I think there's never been a Halloween when I didn't dress up. I probably have recycled costumes, but I try not to. I've made some pretty elaborate ones in the past. I think I was like Mercy from Overwatch. That one was a big deal. I think I spent probably 4 or 5 months on that one. And then of course, Christine Daae, that one was a good 8 months if you count the time it took to make the corset. But I think that was a time and material investment because I'm gonna use the corset again for this costume. So I'm gonna be either Miss Grace Coolidge or Juliet this year. It's my senior year, and I feel like I have to make a costume, even though I'm crazy busy, but I love it so much. And I really wanna take the time to make something nice, but also kind of quick, because yeah, I'm lacking in time. And fall semester of senior year is kind of like, you know, not the best time to start investing 3 months into a costume. So I'm hoping to bang this out in like 2 days. I'm not using a pattern because I am delusional and I think that I can make this without a pattern on my own. I've done that in the past and it usually works out okay. It gives me a little bit of heartache, but it's worth saving the time and money, I think. It'll probably save me time to make a pattern, but I just don't have the energy to search for one. especially when I'm like adapting a dress that's already been made. Does that even look right? I think that looks right. Oh, this isn't my size. I don't remember. I'll figure it out. But anyway, so it can be always really difficult for me to find Halloween costumes that I actually like in stores, even though I love Spirit Halloween, so no shade to them. But it's just really difficult to find kind of like historically accurate costumes, one, and then two, I'm like really tall, so it can be hard to find the ones that fit well. And then they also kind of just look sort of like Halloween store costumes. And I like to make things that can be used for other scenarios, like, you know, plays or like Renaissance Fair, Dickens Fair, like all those sort of like recreations and historical reenactments events I love to go to. And so if my Halloween costumes can pull double duty, that is always what I prefer. And, you know, Spirit Halloween costumes just aren't cutting it in general. And so that was what led me to make this costume. It is currently September like 7th or 8th. So I am starting a little bit in advance, but for me, this is honestly a little bit late. I think I started my Christine dress November 1st, 2020 for October of 2021. And I was right down to the wire, as always. So, you know, it always ends up sort of at this time of year, kind of getting a little crazy. But that's all right. I have no idea what the back is gonna look like. That's all right. It's gonna be, I also don't know how to close it. I haven't decided how I want to close it in the back. I could do a zipper, but I kind of have like PTSD from the Grace Coolidge zipper, which I sewed way too small. And then I had to take it out like 4 times, and I honestly was under much mental duress because of that stupid zipper. So I think I'm not like totally in love with zippers right now. I might do like a corset back because I still have grommets left over from my Marie Antoinette dress from 2020, and kind of like the look of it. This is not really the material that you would put a corset. Oh, should I bone this? I have boning. If I wear a corset, then I don't need to bone it. Sorry, this is just like the process. Everything, all these issues just kind of come up one by one. I don't think I'm gonna bone it because I think the original was not boned, because the original is a dance costume, and of course those are usually not boned because then it's difficult to move. But yeah, I'll cut this out and see how I feel about it. Probably lay on it and see if it's like my size-ish. I think the skirt will be easier because it's just gonna be a circle skirt. But yeah, this is the getting started process. Just sort of tracing a bunch of different shirts and making them into one Franken shirt, and then it'll turn into a dress eventually. So yeah. Okay, so I cut a rectangle and I just kind of pinned it on. And this was the pattern that I had come up with, and it actually doesn't fit half bad. I like the neckline still. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of gonna keep it. I mean, I'm gonna extend the side, obviously, because that would not have worked. But I'm just gonna kind of trace it with chalk, and I don't know. This is basically my process. Just kind of taking things and experimenting and seeing what we can do. And yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna keep this on here, and I'm gonna cut a similar rectangle from the silver, and then I'm going to drape it on. Then I'm gonna cut the blue fabric because I have more blue fabric than silver fabric. And then I'm going to make a pattern piece from it that I'm gonna copy onto the silver, and then the back will just be what it is. And I've decided I am going to do grommets in the back. And I could say that I was gonna do a historical back, the corset back for historical accuracy, but I think that would probably be a lie because everything laced up in the front. But this is a Halloween costume, and so I feel like as long as I acknowledge my historical shortcomings, they can be forgiven, maybe? I don't know. But it has to be closed in the front. It has to zip up in the back or whatever, because otherwise I don't get that fun kind of double layer with the appliques and stuff. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna stick with. For the first official sewing step, I'm going to well, I did pin these two together, the two front pieces, like so that they'll open up nicely. And I'm just gonna sew it down the middle, and then I'm gonna see what happens from there. Yeah. Now I've begun on the skirt, and the way that I've decided to do that is I'm going to do a half circle skirt with the blue and then a half circle skirt with the silver. And so I took my waist measurement, and then I found the radius from the circumference by dividing that measurement, which was 28 inches, by 2 pi. And then I found 4.5 inches was the radius of my circle. So I marked 4.5 inches, and then from that place, I measured out 40 inches in length. And that's very long. I think I want 33 inches, but I want to be able to cut out the waist a little bit and make it larger if I need to, and also make the skirt longer or shorter depending on where it hits and where I want to, you know, have the waist lay. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm just sort of holding this measure and dragging it along, making marks intermittently, and then I'll cut out the half circle. Cut my half skirt of the blue fabric, and I've just pinned it in half so that it's into a quarter skirt, and I'm laying it on top of the silver fabric, which is also folded in half. So I'm going to cut around here and cut around the edge, and I'm not marking it or pinning it or anything like that because I am lazy, and it's also too big. So I will make all those adjustments later. This is my process to not have to make as many adjustments in the beginning, because I know I'm gonna have to make them later, and to just sort of cut things out sloppily, and then to really fine tune and adjust things very neatly once I'm actually to the sewing part, because I personally enjoy sewing more than I enjoy cutting, pinning, tracing, or anything else. So that is the kind of compromise that I make. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut, and then I will have a full circle skirt. I have pinned together the wrong sides and sewn up for half of the skirt. I'm going to iron it because obviously it very much needs an iron. Not totally sure how I'm gonna close the skirt because I want to do a corset back for the top, but my waist is a little bit smaller than my shoulders. I think that's how shoulders work. So maybe elastic, I don't really know. But that sounds like a problem for after I've ironed. As you can tell, I plan out every single one of my garments meticulously with each and every step. So yeah. But see, the trial and error is the fun of it, because that's what gives you the rush of realizing you've done something wrong and having to unpick it the night before. So it's really not that fun if you know what you're doing. But I'll know what I'm doing by the time that you see the final result. I mean, yeah, so it'll all work out in the end. It's just the journey to get there that matters. So yeah. Mannequin, I've draped the first two pieces that are joined in the middle, and then also just this sort of the back of the silver fabric that I flipped inside out and pinned. See if I can show how. I always pin it so that it stays. So I've just draped it so that it was right sides together. I sort of pinned all along the side seam. And it's definitely too loose, but I just want to get them joined because it's easier for me to take things in, and I don't want to have to let things out because this is going to be slippery and I just want it to be sort of loose fitting for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew down that seam, and we'll then see what the back piece ends up looking like. And then I'll probably take it in at the waist and things like that, and then we'll be in good shape. So I'm at Joann's, and I'm just looking for some embellishments for my dress, some lace for the sleeves and for the bodice and for the waist and neck, and some appliques for the sleeves. And so basically what I found is these two ribbons, this one and this one. This is for the waist, and this is for the center of the bodice. And then I got this one to sort of play with as well. And then I also got these for the sleeves, and I think I'm going to try and stitch over them with a little bit of gold thread to make it match more, because I've decided to go with light gold for my accents. I've just sort of put everything together on the mannequin, obviously really roughly, but I'm really happy with it. And this is sort of going to go down the middle, like so. Yeah, and I think it looks really good. Very pleased. So I'm going to try to fix up the top, because I think the top is my biggest problem right now, because the skirt's almost done. And then sleeves, and then embellishments. So it shouldn't be super long, I think. And then we'll be good. I'm not totally sure what to do with the rest of the top. I've started on the sleeves. So I basically cut out 4 pieces of fabric for the sleeves, 2 silver and 2 blue, 1 silver for each sleeve and 1 blue for each sleeve. And I just sewed it into a nice little tube. And so basically this piece is an 11-inch rectangle, 11 by, I think, 18. And then I made it quite a bit too big, and then I sewed it up after putting it on my arm and pinning it, so that it slowly tapers off and gets a little bit skinnier as it goes to the elbow. You might notice this little part here. I will show you the one that I have not sewn into a tube yet. So basically, I have a little bump out and a curve at the top of one side of the sleeve, and that's where the shoulder is going to be. So that way it makes a little dip at the bottom for the arm part, and then it also covers the shoulder. And then I did the same thing for this, for the blue pieces. I haven't sewn it into a tube yet, but I basically just did 11 wide by, like, I don't know, 15. It's a little bit shorter because it's just the forearm. Haven't pinned it yet, but I did cut a little like V shape because I might want to do a little V at the wrist. And I'll show you what that looks like once I sew it up into a tube. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin these tubes and then sew them all up, and then I will have my sleeves. So definitely not during a Zoom meeting. I was sewing on this trim down the center because I was eager to get something done, and I kind of know that this center line isn't moving anywhere. So I sewed this by hand, and the way that I did this was because I am lazy and I didn't want to go around in a circle around each and every little bobble. I went down one side, and then the other side, and then one side, and then the other side. So it kind of snaking like an S down the chain. And this, I think, holds pretty well because it's not wanting to come off basically at all. So yeah, I did not do it all the way because I ran out of thread. The Zoom meeting ended, and I also ran out of patience. But then I realized that I'm putting on the sleeve, and I didn't iron on the applique that I bought. Oh, did I just take out those pins? No, I didn't. Thank goodness. And I didn't iron on the little applique that I bought for the sleeve. And then I realized it is not an iron-on applique, and I am a little bit devastated, honestly, but that doesn't matter because I wouldn't be able to iron it on anyway based on the way that I've sewed this because I did not think about it. So more work, but also less work because I don't have to cut it up. Basically, this is all white, and that's not perfectly ideal, but I thought it was really pretty, and it came with 2 in a pack, and they're like also opposites, and I thought that was like really cute. And so I bought this gold thread. Also did this in gold thread. But I'm just gonna hand sew it on, and hopefully the gold thread, I'm gonna just like, you know, weave it in as much as I can And that will blend it, maybe. Maybe I'll cut off some of the little gems from the extra of that and like, maybe. I have little other baubles and stuff like that, and also the thread that's going on the cuffs and the elbows and the shoulders is like mostly white with a little bit of gold, so it will blend together eventually, but I just need to make it not so like liquid paper white, and then I will be good to go. This is just a shot I took of the back of the dress, kind of showing what it ended up looking like. I ended up pinning it. And I ultimately finished the dress on time, literally the morning of the fair though. So that was perhaps not ideal. I had to literally safety pin myself into it because I didn't have time to hammer in grommets. So the back looked pretty atrocious, as you can perhaps see. But we had a wonderful time at the Renaissance Fair, and my dress was adequately serviceable. I'm perhaps going to hem it better and, do some stuff to the back before Halloween, but yeah, it worked really well, and we had a really great time at the fair. There was turtle racing and jousting and lots of good food and fun. And so would I recommend making this costume for a Renaissance fair? Absolutely. Would I recommend making it without a pattern? Absolutely not, because the sleeves were not that easy to make, and I kind of underestimated how difficult it would be to piece sleeves together, mostly from two different fabrics. But other than that, it was pretty good. And yeah, this is just some footage from the fair and all the fun stuff that we did. I've just acquired this new piece from Oberon Design. Yes, here I am at the fair, enjoying my dress. And we're having a wonderful time. I think it's closing soon, but maybe we'll be back. Maybe not.
Now, the rules. First turtle to touch a stone or go in between the stones wins.
Go right here.
You have to cheer them on.
Go right here, Romeo. Right there.
Do not disappoint me, Babushka.
All right. Cheer loudly on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Come on, Juliet! Oh no! Romeo and Juliet are taking each other out.
You're 11. Yo, dude, Joey, you're used to
Come on, Romeo! Juliet!
No, Joey!
No!
Joey!
No!
Oh my gosh!
Turtle racing was really fun, and I highly recommend it, but Romeo and Juliet immediately took each other out. So, just like in the play, which is in character, I guess.